Yeah, so thank you for introducing me. Yeah, like you said, my name is Simon. I'm a chemistry student at the University of Birmingham. And I'm about to start my fourth year now. And today I'll be talking to you about why I chose to study chemistry at the University of Birmingham and what I've learned from my university experience so far. And so first of all, I'll talk about why I chose chemistry. So when I was moving on from GCSEs to A levels, I had to pick four subjects from GCSEs to study at A level. And the three I picked initially was maths, physics, and English literature. And I was deciding between history and chemistry for the fourth subject. They're quite different subjects, I know, but at the time I had an interest in both of them. And I was leaning slightly towards history because I enjoyed it in GCSE and I found it a bit easier in chemistry. But I wasn't confident if I was going to like it for A level, and I was wondering what I was going to do with it after A level as well. So I had a meeting with my head of year, and he convinced me that I would be in a stronger position when applying to universities if I had maths, physics, and chemistry. So maths and two sciences, because I already picked maths and physics. And my parents told me something similar because they were saying that chemistry would open more doors for me in the future. And at the time, I was saying to them that I also enjoy studying history, and chemistry just seemed more of a difficult subject. But in the end, I went ahead and I eventually picked chemistry as my last subject. So I was studying maths, physics, chemistry, and English. And then, so during my year 12 experience, my sixth form, I noticed that even though I was only studying four subjects, I was studying less than GCSE, the work was just as much, if not a lot more than GCSE. And so you have less lessons, so you might be in the class less. So you have to take more responsibility for your own studies, like outside of class. It's similar to university, which I'll touch on later as well. And so moving on from year 12 to year 13, we had to drop one subject, and I decided to drop physics because I didn't enjoy as much of the others and I didn't perform as well in it as well. So I studied maths, chemistry, and English literature. And then after A levels, I wanted to go to university to study more. And I picked chemistry because out of the three, it was a subject I enjoyed the most, and I was interested to study it further to see where it could take me. I picked University of Birmingham because it was a good university in general when I was looking at the rankings, and it was quite good for chemistry as well. And it's outside London, so I could run away from my parents and get to just live by myself for a bit. So from that, it's kind of interesting how the subject that I was skeptical to pick for A levels, chemistry, it ended up being a subject that I actually took further at university. And then when reflecting on this, I learned that when you're making these decisions of picking subject, it's good to talk to different people, such as your teachers, your parents, and it's good to get their advice on what you should do if you're not sure, because their advice can be valuable. I was going to pick history because I enjoyed it, which is definitely a good reason, but I didn't have a plan in terms of where it was going to lead me personally. And because of that, I wasn't confident in my choice as a result of it, especially considering the fact that I already had a similar interest in another subject that arguably could open more doors for me. So the key is, whatever subject you're planning to study or take to university, if it's history, if it's English, if it's chemistry, maths, just make sure that you're fully confident in your choice, and you understand the subject fully, and you know where it's going to lead you in the future. And you can do this by talking to people, doing research on the subject, knowing which subjects you really like, and understanding what drives you, what change do you want to make in the world, and what subject, in your opinion, can help you make that change. And so going on to my first year of university, at the start it was very daunting. It was a new climate. I was away from my parents. I think it was the first time I lived away from them for quite a while, and it was quite a large campus as well. That didn't help my nerves as well. So at the start, I was just wandering around, just walking around the campus. I was talking to my housemates, meeting them, trying to get to know them, just settling in and getting used to the new life. If you haven't lived away from your parents, then it can be quite scary. So if you're ever feeling homesick, you can call them to stay in touch. But just remember that everyone else is most likely feeling the same way, and no one really knows what they're doing. They're also learning as they go themselves. The first year is typically a bit more relaxed than the later years, so you can have a bit of fun. You can meet new people, see what interests you, whether it's to do with your course or outside your course, different activities. You can step outside your comfort zone a little and try new things. You might want to be going out late or clubbing late or something. Some of you guys probably done that already, but just make sure that when you do, you're responsible and you're always aware of what you're doing. If you're applying for student finances, you'll be having a lot more money in your bank account, probably more than what you're used to. So make sure that you don't get too carried away. Just try to be conscious of what you're spending your money on, your food, rent, travel, and try to set up a budget to help track your spending. So you're limiting whatever you're spending your money on. And make sure you go to all your lectures, or at least try your best to go to all of them and don't skip them. Or if you skip one, you build up a bad habit. You just think, I missed this one. But then the work will pile on later. And then overall, the first year was roughly 50% the degree in the studies and 50% life. The life would involve learning how to, for me, the first time, like learning how to shop and to cook, learning how to live with other people that you've never met before. You learn how to manage time between doing multiple different things. You might be studying, you might be part of a club, you might do sports or something. Learning how to manage that time might take a while to get used to or learn, because unlike school, your teachers and lecturers don't check up on you as much to see if you've done the work. It's more like if you don't do the work, you just fall behind. There isn't really a strict schedule like school. You go in at 9, you leave at 3. It's more like a bit more flexible. So it's really more on your own accord. So make sure you consciously set time aside for yourself to get your work done before doing other things that you consider more fun or other activities. Otherwise, the work will pile up before you know it, and you'll be really stressed. And you can set up a calendar and schedule when you'll do the work and when you do other things. I personally didn't set up a calendar on first year, but I know that I've recently been trying to set one up, and I know that if I did this in first year, it would have helped me a lot. You can explore as well whether you prefer to study with by yourself or with other people, just whichever method is easier or better for you. But overall, the first year is a really good year to get settled into living and study on your own and meeting other people. Meeting other people will also help you when you're deciding on who to live with when looking for a house for the following year, second year. I actually didn't look for a house until quite late. So I recommend looking for a second year house early, so you won't be stressing about it later. You don't want to leave it until March or May, that's when you have exams, so it's good to do it early. So when I was going into second year, I noticed the workload increased a lot, and I also had to adjust to living with new people in a new house. But these new experiences they added on to my growth, because in that year I made some new friends that I still talk to on my course. With the increased workload, it's important to make sure that you don't overload yourself. Make sure you take sufficient breaks. You can having another hobby such as physical exercise or learning something on the side is a good way to clear your mind, because you'll be focusing on something else other than your work, and you'll be fresh for study again when you come back. At the time, I was also applying for placements for my third year, because my course is chemistry with 1 year in industry. So my third year is supposed to be a year of working in a chemistry-based company and studying university work alongside that as well. So when I was applying for them, the whole process of finding companies and applying for placements, it taught me a lot, because I was getting experience in learning how to write proper CV and writing cover letters to these companies. And I also gained experience with interviews as well. And I got one interview with a manufacturing company in Northampton, which I later got offered a job for them for the year. As the interview was for a chemistry-based position, so they were looking for someone with with enough chemistry knowledge. But I also learned that with some of the questions they ask, they equally valued, if not more, how you'll fit in with the other workers. It's not just your knowledge. So this is also a really important skill to have. So if you're planning to work in a technical field, one that's science related, knowing how to communicate with others and communicate ideas is a really important skill to have. I also learned when applying for companies that it's important to research the company and be specific in why you want to work with them. instead of just sending like a general CV or general cover letter. Also research not just the company, but research the general industry the company is a part of, so you have more of an understanding of the challenges that the industry might face, for example, and they'll be impressed by your knowledge of that. I remember in my interview that I got a job for, I said that I talked about one powder that is used to give white color to certain products, to certain paints in the paint industry, that's one of the industries that the company was part of. But I was saying that even though that powder is so common, it's quite bad for the environment. And saying something like that, that's really specific about the company industry, it can make you stand out from the other applicants, which shows you've done research about that company, and you're not just saying something vague or general. So mention what it is that they do, like what stuff that they like, what are their values or what they provide, and what they believe in, and how, if that aligns with you, if that resonates with you, and what you will be adding if they hire them, if you work for them. What skills and knowledge do you have that you can bring? So when I actually got the job and I started working for them in my third year, I noticed that the experience is so different to my university studies, because I was seeing firsthand how a company would apply chemistry to the real world. And from that, I understood more how chemistry relates to financial and business decisions, because a lot of the projects that were being done were aimed at saving money on their products. And the people who are working on these projects, like my co-workers, for example, they would try to achieve this by changing the formula of the product and like testing out in the lab and seeing how that affects the performance of the product, even if it's negative or positive. It always felt quite good to be paid and have some experience in managing my own money, managing my own income. How to spend that on rent, like how to portion out for rent, for food, all that stuff. And because I was studying alongside this placement for uni, trying to manage both of them made me more like independent and more responsible for my time management. I would say stuff like I would work during the weekdays, then I can have more time to study on the weekends, for example. There wasn't like a lot of time for breaks in that year. So from that, a placement or an internship is a really useful opportunity to know if an industry or type of work is right for you, because you'll see the difference between what you study or what you think how it's applied, and between that and what is actually applied in the real world, like what companies actually do. So make sure, if you can, check if your university offers these opportunities like summer internships or placements, because you'll learn a lot from them, such as if you actually want to work in that field you're studying, because you might be studying anything. You might think that what you do on a job is similar to that, but it could be very different. Like for me, my project was based on making a product that the company sold, making it cheaper, but by using a software to do it instead of educated guesses, such as adding one ingredient or taking another one away. And that was the way that the company had always done it, like just the classic way of, oh, maybe this would work. But they wanted like a way that's more automated. And then when doing that project, I felt myself more interested in how the software uses data to predict results rather than the chemistry I was doing in the lab. So that's something that I learned about myself, and then it's quite an interesting path that I'm planning to explore further. So from a placement, you can actually learn things that are specific in your subject that you want to go further, which can be quite helpful. And during the placement as well, I had to write a report on my project and what I was doing. So you also build up your report writing skills, which is key in any workplace in order to communicate concepts to people who don't know what you did or who may not even know anything about your field. And knowing how to like talk to those people and tell them what you're doing and why it's important, it's a really key skill, the communication aspect. And from that year, now I'm about to start my fourth year, and overall my university experience so far has been one where I've grown a lot as a person. I've met some good people, I've learned a lot about myself, and hopefully this fourth year will continue me on that journey. And when I first joined, the vice president of the university, he said in his welcome speech that your experience with university gets better over the years. So if your first year wasn't the best, you'll meet new people and discover new things about yourself, and then you'll grow as a result of it. And that was definitely the case for me, because in the first year I was doubting myself. I was like, I'm not ready for a place like this, or the campus is so large, or like I've never done something like this before. But then over the years I felt more confident being on my own and making choices, making decisions, and I learned more. And I also learned that everyone's journey is different. So don't feel like you're behind or you're not where you should be because you're looking at other people and you're seeing where they are. Just try to improve yourself and focus on where you are heading because everyone else is figuring out where they're heading as well. The main thing is that university is a great opportunity to grow and learn, and we are blessed to have these opportunities so readily available to us. Good luck on all your journeys, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can ask them now or later.
Thank you, Simon, for this speech. You know, you've had a very great uni experience. Hopefully everyone else has a great experience like that. You spoke about a lot of things and a lot of things you've learned from it. Has anyone got